Warning: the following reading contains mature content, such as blood and gore, murder, and horror elements. Viewers' discretion is advised. Last time on 10 Little Ponies, Fluttershy was killed by the hooves of the mysterious figure. 3 ponies remain to try their best to survive the night at Princess Twilight's castle until the morning. It's almost sunrise. Who is the mysterious figure that's killing the ponies? Is it Applejack, Pinkie Pie, or Princess Celestia? Stick around and find out in the final chapter of 10 Little Ponies.
10 Little Ponies, written by Forefront 1, Chapter 8. And then there were 2 and 1.
Applejack.
Applejack felt strange. Her eyes were shut. She was completely disoriented, and her head was killing her.
Applejack.
The voice cried out in a strangely soothing tone. She couldn't remember what had happened. One minute, she was wandering the halls in the dark. The next, she was knocked out and hearing voices.
Applejack.
Okay, that one was definitely real.
Applejack struggled to focus her thoughts, her head pounding with each second. She slowly opened her eyes and began to gain her composure. Oddly enough, the lights were back on in the castle, but that didn't help her determine her location. She looked around the room as her surroundings came into focus. She was in a small room with crystal walls on every side and one door in front of her. There was a small table with a remote control on it sitting across from her as well. On her left was a single screen that appeared to be a security monitor. Interestingly enough, Applejack did not remember seeing any cameras that night. Applejack tried to move her hooves and rub her temples, but alarmingly she realized that they were tied to the chair with rope. She struggled to break them, but at the moment she was just too weak.
Oh, good! You're finally awake.
Applejack looked up and her eyes shot open wide in surprise.
Celestia!
Celestia gave an evil smile in response.
You're the killer?
Yes! And I have been waiting all night for this moment.
How did I even get here?
Let's just say that sometime when the lights were off, I somehow took you down and dragged your unconscious body here.
I can't believe this. What?
Applejack said, trying to take everything in.
I know you are probably confused, but before we get into details, let's see how Pinkie Pie is doing.
Celestia said, grabbing the remote control off of the table. Clicking a button, Celestia looked towards the security screen. After a quick start up, the screen turned on and showed footage from another room. Applejack gasped as she saw Pinkie Pie trapped in the cage, banging against the locked door.
Hello? Is anyone there? Please! Someone get me out of here!
As if to respawn, Celestia clicked another button and the door swung open. Pinkie Pie took the opportunity and ran out of the room she was in as fast as she could. Celestia clicked another button which showed a long, empty hallway. Within a few moments, Pinkie Pie appeared on the screen. Looking to her right, Pinkie Pie cheered at what she saw. Applejack saw it too. It was the front doors of the castle. Pinkie Pie ran as fast as she could towards the doors. She shouted as she got to the doors. Applejack looked towards Celestia and instantly got a bad feeling. Celestia did not look upset as Applejack thought, but rather happier than she had ever been. Pinkie Pie reached the doors, thinking that she was finally free from the fear. Then, she ran into the doors. Rather, she ran into a sheet of paper that was designed to look like doors. In her haste, she could not tell the difference. On the other side of the paper was a window which Pinkie Pie crashed through. Falling out of the castle, Pinkie Pie quickly looked around. Pinkie Pie saw the force field, still powered up, surrounding the castle. The sun was just barely coming up on the horizon as morning was approaching. Finally, Pinkie Pie looked down and saw the long fall in store for her. She had fallen out of one of the top floors and was easily a 70-foot drop. Pinkie Pie held her eyes shut and braced for impact as the ground quickly and rapidly approached her. She landed at high speeds with an unnatural crack, her body contorting into an impossible shape and remaining motionless. Applejack just wished that Celestia hadn't put a camera outside.
3 little ponies. One tried to run.
Well, that was certainly entertaining. But now, let's get to business.
Celestia, why?
Applejack said, fighting back tears.
It's quite simple, actually. I am the one in charge. But that doesn't mean I'm the one everyone looks up to. My sister and niece, along with you 6, were gaining too much popularity, too much praise. I fear that my position as ruler would be compromised, so I got rid of you.
How could you?
Don't act so surprised. This isn't the first time it's happened. Ever wonder what happened to Star Swirl the Bearded? And of course, you can't forget my sister and Nightmare Moon. Sure, she was evil, but I was the one who created her in the first place.
What about Spike? He wasn't in your way.
Spike's death was a warning. I was hoping that someone would leave the group in fear, but since you all stayed together, I had no choice but to continue.
Okay,
Applejack said, finally gaining her composure.
we've established the why. But how?
What do you mean?
The poem? The murders? How did you make all of that work?
Applejack asked, searching her brain for answers.
Trust me, it was a royal pain. First, I had to get you all together. So, I planned this simple party and only invited you all.
It was you. So the only reason we had this party was so you could pick us off?
Correct. Once everyone showed up, I simply had to write the poem in a forged writing style so that no one could track me down.
She told Applejack as Applejack replayed the scene in her mind.
I don't recognize this tough writing.
Twilight said, trying to identify the writing.
Pony who wrote this does not want anyone tracking him down.
Along with the poem, I had to make sure that each one of you would run into their trap at precisely the right time. Fortunately, being thousands of years old allows you to figure out Pony's next moves.
Applejack just sat in silence.
All that was left to do was wait without giving myself away too much. Calm down, Rainbow Dash. We can't let ourselves get caught up in this.
So how did you manage to kill Spike? I brought the cider from the barn, meaning that it had to be contaminated during the party.
It was.
Celestia confirmed with a small nod.
But you were with Luna the entire time during the dinner.
Think again. Luna, for the last time, we are at a party with all of our friends, and I intend on having a good time.
Celestia said, getting up from the table to go put her plate away.
That's right. So you put the dragon sneeze in a cup of cider then?
Yep. I had to be quick about it, though.
Weren't you afraid that someone would notice when they went up and grabbed a new cup of cider?
I did think about that. However, by that point in the night, the only one left drinking cider was Rainbow Dash. Thanks to her lack of etiquette, I knew that she would not grab a new cup and spoil the plan.
I'm going to get more cider.
Rainbow Dash said as she grabbed her mug to refill and stormed off.
Dang, you thought of everything!
Yes, I even remember the fatal amount of dragon sneeze needed from when Spike was young.
You never had a reaction as bad as this.
Twilight said, motioning to Spike's body.
So what about Pinkie Pie now?
What about you two?
Celestia asked, raising an eyebrow.
Why did you keep us until the end?
Why, to keep Ponies guessing, of course.
Huh?
I'll explain. You and Pinkie Pie were two very likely suspects that could be the murderer the way the night played out. Pinkie Pie was the closest to Spike before he began talking. Plus, she was the one who locked everyone in for the night.
Pinkie just trapped us here for the night. That magical force field is impenetrable, and it prevents all forms of magic, including immortality.
That's another thing. How did you know about the security system?
Oh, please. Every castle in Equestria has one just like it. It took virtually no effort to convince Twilight to install one of her own. Anyways, back to my story. The most convincing piece of evidence was that her party cannons were used for 2 murders. It's one of those too obvious to be true, but then again, maybe not situations. Keeps Ponies guessing.
What about me then?
You are almost in the same boat. The cider was used for the first murder, and, if anyone found them, ropes from your barn were used to kill Rainbow Dash.
Choking back tears from hearing about Rainbow, Applejack asked another question.
There's one more thing I don't understand. Why did you say that the killer dies in the poem?
To clear my name. When I kill you and frame you for the murders of 9 of the most powerful citizens of Equestria, I will be the sole survivor described in the poem. Along with the cider and the ropes, there will be plenty of evidence. Plus, even if there are doubts, the poem itself is evidence enough to believe me.
Applejack looked to the ground for a moment in sheer awe of the complexity of Celestia's plan.
I must say, I'm very impressed, Celestia. You really thought of everything.
Why, thank you, Applejack. Still honest in defeat, I see.
That is, almost everything.
Applejack said, picking up her head.
Oh, really? And what might I have forgotten?
That I've been the lasso champion at the Appaloosa Rodeo for 5 years straight.
In a flash, Applejack finally loosened the ropes enough to fling them off her hooves. Before Celestia could react, Applejack tossed the ropes towards Celestia, tying her front hooves together. As Celestia struggled to get the ropes off, Applejack got her legs free and bolted out the doors.
Don't think you escaped just yet!
Celestia shouted, getting to her feet. Applejack's heart was pounding faster than she thought possible. Knowing that the sun was just coming over the horizon, the force field would be down soon and she could escape. However, so could Celestia. Then a thought rang through Applejack's head.
Only one of us can get out of here alive.
She stopped in her tracks when she realized that, sure, Celestia had done some terrible things, but Applejack was no killer. Yet further thoughts began to convince her otherwise.
I can't let Celestia escape, or she'll just continue to take out her competition.
As she struggled with what to do, she heard Celestia's voice from behind her.
There you are, Applejack!
Applejack shouted, once again beginning to run.
You'd better run faster than that.
Celestia chuckled as she began to chase her victim. Despite Celestia's appearance, she was much faster than Applejack. Within a few moments, she was right behind the Earth Pony, practically within reach. Applejack quickly turned a corner, desperately trying to escape, but Celestia was still right behind her. As fast as she could sprint, Applejack ran to the end of the hall, threw open a door, jumped inside, and locked it. Celestia ran to the door Applejack took cover behind and proceeded to try and bust the door down. On the other side, Applejack began to push furniture in front of the door to stop Celestia. After a few loud bangs against the door, Celestia stopped trying. Applejack slowly backed away from the door, not taking her eyes off of it. Just as she thought she had escaped danger, Celestia bashed the door open along with the stacked furniture. Wood and debris flew forward towards Applejack, knocking her to the ground and pinning one of her legs as well. Panicking and struggling to get free, Applejack slowly looked up to the hole in the wall and saw Celestia slowly walk through. Her pupils were larger than pinpricks.
I have to give you credit, Applejack. You put up quite a fight. However, enough's enough. Sit still, and this might not hurt as much,
Celestia said, grabbing the knife from underneath her wing. Applejack's world went in slow motion. She pushed as hard as she could on her stuck hoof,
Come on, let go, you piece of shit!
begging for it to come free. As Celestia menacingly approached, Celestia raised the knife and let out a sickening laugh. In a last-ditch effort, Applejack swung her leg awkwardly in the air, striking Celestia in the jaw.
Take that, bitch!
The alicorn stumbled back a few feet, dropping the knife to the ground. Applejack used this moment, and with all her might, finally got her hoof free. She then ran past Celestia and out into the hallway. Looking to the right, Applejack saw a pair of doors leading outside. She ran over to them and pulled the handle. They were locked.
Nice try, but the field is still up.
Without looking behind her, Applejack ran down the hallway to her left and to the main room of the castle. Looking out of some windows, she could see that the sun was almost up.
Just a few more moments.
There is nowhere left to run.
Celestia said, locking the only open doors left.
I already locked the others when you were unconscious. It's over. I win!
Turning around, Applejack saw that Celestia was bleeding and that she had lost a few of her teeth. Applejack began backing up into a pillar, out of options. Celestia was still holding the knife. Slowly walked up to Applejack. Cracking her jaw, Celestia let out another laugh.
You've bucked your last apple tree.
Celestia spat out, blood dripping from her mouth. Looking around, Applejack was about to accept her fate, until she thought of something.
I don't know. I think I still got it.
With that, Applejack reared on her front legs and pulled her back legs in. Applejack kicked her legs out as hard as she could and struck the pillar. The pillar immediately cracked and crumbled to the ground as the roof began to shake. Celestia's eyes went wide as the roof above them began to crack and break apart. Soon, most of the area above her was crumbling in front of her eyes. Applejack dove under a table as the roof finally gave way. Celestia screamed as tons of crystal and stone landed on top of her and crushed her. Applejack curled up under the table, hoping that it would hold. Luckily, the crystal table was able to handle the impact. After the roof finally finished falling, Applejack opened her eyes and crawled out from under the table. Right next to the table was the entire pile of the roof that fell, and one white hoof sticking out from the rumble. Applejack cautiously walked over to the hoof and gave it a slight nudge, to which there was no reaction. She was finally safe.
The killer defeated.
Looking to the top of the rumble, Applejack saw a hole in the roof of the castle. Looking through the hole, Applejack finally saw the force field come down, showing that she was free. Climbing up the rumble, Applejack looked out over the horizon. The sun shone brightly in her eyes. Applejack had to squint just to see. She then looked over the quiet town of Ponyville, just waking up from their slumber. Looking over to Sweet Apple Acres, Applejack let out a sigh.
I hate dinner parties.
She muttered to herself, shaking her head. She slowly climbed down the damaged side of the castle and began to slowly start home.
And then there was one.
Guess you should have worded that poem correctly. A bubba bitch.
I still say that's bullshit.
Oh, you gonna get it?
Apple Bloom, I swear to Jesus, I'm about to send you to the Lord right now. Ah, no! I hunt the Applejack!
No, get the fuck away from me! I don't want to be in the line of fire! No!
Like, oh, you fucking kid don't fucking know how to shut up!
Ah, stop hitting me!
Ah, you son of a bitch! Like, I don't care if you're the survivor, you're not gonna survive my fucking cave!
Ah, fuck you!
What'd you say to me?
You okay, Pika?
No! I'm not okay!
You're not okay?
I'm gonna retake! I didn't hit record!
Oh.
My sweet buttons! Oh, you failed!
Man, I beat your ass! Okay. then and there. That's all I gotta say.
Wait, what?
No, cause like I already did the short part of the Pinkie. I already saved that file, but when I was recording my Applejack lines and the Pinkie ones in this chapter, I didn't hit record.
Oh my god.
My life. My life. Like I already hit record now, so everybody's gonna know that I fucking fucked up. Like, no! Why? How could this happen to me? I made my mistake. Okay, let's just scroll all the way back to the top. You know what I'm saying? Like, just fuck this shit, right? Oh yeah. Oh, you got it. You got it. Okay. Dang, you thought of everything.
Duh, she's Princess fucking Celestia.
Man, I'm getting tired of your fucking shit, you little bitch ass brat.
Ah! Granny! She's trying to hurt me! I'm concerted, I'm trying to take my damn nap and you fucking can't.
Granny, calm down. Take your medicine. Yeah, you better go sit down with your old ass.
What'd you say?
Nothing, Granny. Nothing, Granny. Apple Bloom said something. I don't know. Yeah.
Don't put this on me! The Apple Bloom, you shut up too! Fucking trying to take a nap.
That's another thing. How did you know about the security system?
Cause she's Princess Celestia. Apple Bloom, shut up!
That's what your bitch ass get.
You want some of this too?
Granny, what happened to your voice?
I don't know. I'm fucking tired. Fuck you. I'm fucking tired. Fuck you.
There's one more thing. Oh, fucking shit. Why do I pause?
Cause you sucked.
Apple corner.
Bitch, you better not do if I have to get up on this fucking couch. I'm gonna come over there and I'm gonna whip that ass. I'm not playing with you, Apple Bloom. You better shut the fuck up.
Sorry, Granny.
That's what I thought. Get my beating stick. Get my beating stick. Get my beating stick.
Damn, I don't want to be there when she whips that up. Ooh. That I've been the lasso champion at the Appaloosa Rodeo for 5 straight. Fucking bitch!
Almost had it though.
Almost had it.
Almost doesn't butter the biscuits. That's it. I'll get my beat stick. Oh my God! No! No, Granny, no! No! I told you that it is shut the fuck up.
Damn.
Yeah, I'll give you something to cry about too. Anyhow, I'll go back to sleep.
Only one of us can get out of here alive. And in that poem, the killer dies. So guess who's coming out alive, bitch?